Hi guys! In this tutorial, we are going to create a REST API using Node.js to modify the user account in Openfire with the use of Axios package. But first, we need to know the definition first of Axios and Openfire. Axios is a promise-based HTTP client for the browser and Node.js. Also, it makes it easy to send asynchronous HTTP requests to REST endpoints and perform root operations. While Openfire, by definition, it is previously known as Wildfire and Chive Messenger. It is an instant messaging app and group chat server for the extensible messaging and presence protocol, also known as XMPP. Now we know the definition, so without any further ado, let's start our coding. For this demo, we'll be using a Windows 10 operating system. So it doesn't matter if you're using a different type of operating system. So all the process here still applies to any platform. Now for this demo, I will also be using VS Code. So let's start. I'm going to create a folder. We will call this folder REST API. Then I'm going to use VS Code to open this folder. Okay, so now we have a plain folder site here. So from here, we're going to create our npm init. So let's type npm init minus y. So from here, we're going to install the Axios package by typing npm install Axios. Then we indicate to save this in our package reference. Good. Now, if you're going to see from here, check our package JSON, you'll see that our Axios is already installed under dependency. Now, for this demo, we need also an Openfire. So I already prepared here our Openfire. So first and foremost, we need to activate first our REST API. So how to activate our plugins? So for our REST API, we should activate that under plugins by selecting this tab here. Then this is the plugins that we're using, this REST API. But if you are first time, if you happen to install first time in Openfire, this plugin is not available. So what you need to do is go to this tab here, the available plugins. Then under here, there's a lot of plugins available here, but we only need to activate one particular, and that is the REST API. Let's see, it's still here. Okay, so it so happens that I already installed our REST API. So once installed, it will be displayed under plugins. And this is the plugins that we need. Now next, we need to check our REST API already exists in our server. Now to check that, we need to go from here, select this tab here, select server settings. Then down here, there's a REST API selections. Now, please take note of the selections. By default, we need to select enable REST API requests will be processed, because since we're going to use REST API, so we need to activate this from here. Next one, we need to have to select here. This is the secret authentication, and this is the secret key. So take note, guys, that this is the key that we're going to use in our later demo. So our objective here is we're going to use the REST API to access or modify our user's account. So right now, this is our existing user account for this demo. So yeah, so from here, these are the account that used for Openfire for the messaging app. Now, to understand what is this messaging app, Openfire provides a messaging app which is called Sparks. It so happened that I already installed here, so let's see it from here. This is Spark. Okay. So Sparks is the messaging app under Openfire. So let's say we're going to log in using this account. So I already put here user 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the password. Now, if you're familiar with, of course, this is similar to what are the common messaging app right now, so as of these days. So basically, it does the same. So whatever the concept of chat, let's say our messenger in Facebook, this also performs a live chat, of course, with the use of the Openfire as their XMPP server. So, okay, so that's it. Now let's begin with our coding, if we fully understand with this one. So let's start. Now for this start, we'll be going to create first our very own first REST API. So for this one, we'll be creating a creation of user account. So this is the first package that we're going to create. So okay, let's start. From here, we need to create a file name. Let's say create user.js. Okay, now that we already installed our package Axios, we will call that package in here. Cons Axios require Axios. Now, for the requirements, we will create the code for how to post our first request. So to access that, we need to call Axios.post, and then we need to specify here the URL. Okay, so from here we need to specify the URL, and this is the params or our parameter. So later we're going to fill up this parameter, and also in this section here we need to specify the headers. So we need to declare our headers. This section is typing this word. So first requirement is we need to have the authorization. Since I did not copy it, the authorization, later we'll build this up. So the next one, we need to return a content type. For this demo, we're going to use the application application/json. Now, once these are set up, we need to declare for success. So for if something posts this tag here, we're going to get a response if successfully we made a HTTP request. So we need this syntax for that. So let's say console.log. So let's say success. Success, create a new user. Okay. So next, console.log. I wonder why is it we have errors here. Oh yeah. So we need to include this one, the arrow here. Okay. So from here we need to create a catch. If there's something problem, this will return an error, popping whatever the HTTP request, and something happens. So this will return the information notice for that. So same goes. We need to call the console.log for this example. Error. Now there's particular properties in returning this information. For this code, we're going to include the response data. So let's say we're going to put this in. Okay, so I think it's right. So we're going to call this response data. Better we need to put this in a variable. So we're going to call this as msg error. So are also known as the error. Then we need to call the console log to call this property or this variable. Messages error and the message. Okay, so it seems everything is okay now. Now, since we're going to perform a post request, what we need to do is we need to assign a parameters to assign here. So but first we need to get first the URL for this one. So for URL, okay. So these are the URL for posting our requests. Now we need to create a params for the parameter. One from here. So we need to assign the values for our parameters. So by default, we only need 2 parameters. The first one is the username. The second one is the password. So let's say we're going to call it demo user. Okay, that's for our username. For the password, let's say we only need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So yeah, so we need to check everything just to make sure. Okay, so now we'll be needing the authorization. A while ago, what I mentioned is that we need the sections for the authorization. So to get that, we need to get it from our REST API. So we need to go back here server settings, REST API. Okay, so copy this key here. This will be our authorization to access our Openfire. So we need to paste from here. Okay, now let's check this for the final run. Ensure that everything is okay. So I think everything's okay now. Now we need to save this one here. Then we need to perform to check if these things work. Now, how to call this one? We need to emphasize the node and the name of the file. So this is create-user. You can also use .js, but also you can also without the .js. Alright, so we hit enter. Okay, now as you can see, we already create our first user for this demo. So let's go back here to check if our users already in here. So to access that, we need to go from this section here. Okay. So as you can see, here is our very own user. Okay, good. So next, now this is okay. Now the next section is how to retrieve that user. So to perform that, we need to create another file for this demo, and we will create naming that as getuser.js. Okay, so let's make it a little faster. So to avoid so much typing, we need to copy this from our first code from the create user, paste it here. Okay, now we need to change some parts here. So since we're going to perform a get user, which is a get request, we need to replace this one here. Okay, for this one, we don't need any more params. So we're going to remove this one as well. Okay. Next is we need to call our variables to search the particular user. So we need to declare that as const user. Let's say demo user. Okay. Now this one, we need to assign this user in our get properties. Now to call that, we need to emphasize to use this column here. We need to question mark equals. So we're going to use this $sign. This one. Okay. So as you can see, this is only in plain text. So to make it dynamic, we need to change this the double quotation here. So instead of using double quotation, we'll be using this single quote here. Same goes from here. So this is the JavaScript way of how to make it dynamic. So as you can see, our user now is a dynamic variable. So whatever we're going to place from here, it will be automatically assigned from here. Okay, so what's next? So once we're going to fetch our user, once succeed, so we will call that user and post it in our console log. Okay, like this. Now, okay, so for the error, same goes. Let's see if this works. We will call this again. This is no get dash user. There you go. Let's see. Oh, so in here it displays all the user, but we only need one user, and that is the demo user. So, oh yeah, so we need to emphasize a variable here on what particular fields that we're entering. So we will add this text search string here. Okay. So to search a particular only specific user, so this should be it. So again, we're going to only get only the demo user. So let's create this again. And we're going to perform this one, not get dash user. There you go. So yeah. So our get user code is now working. Now this time, since we already made the correction a while ago, for this next code is we're going to fetch all the user that is registered in our Openfire. So let's create another file here, and we call this get all user. Get all dash user.js. Okay. So from our get user, we need to copy this here. Copy, then paste. Okay. So for this one, we didn't need a variable. So we need to remove this one here. And also, we need to remove this one as well. So since this is a get request, so we can also perform like this one, so that it will be a plain text. So same goes with the rest. Authorization, content as JSON, application JSON. Okay. Everything seems okay. So save this thing. I'm going to save this file. So, yeah. Okay. Okay, now need to clear. Okay, so let's check if this is working. Node get all dash user. Okay, there we go. So we need to maximize this one here. So as you can see, our patch get all user is working. Okay, so good. So now we have managed to perform create user, get user, and the get all user. Now next, what should we need to do? Of course, we need to create a delete request. So to do that, we need to create another file. Let's say here. Okay, we need to create another file which we're going to call it delete user.js. Okay, so now we need to get, let's say, this one. We'll copy it from here. Place it from here. Okay, so for the delete user, we need to first we need to identify which user. So also the operation that we need to use. So for this one, for the operation, we need to replace this one, and we'll be using the delete request. Okay. So also, since we'll be needing a variable to assign to call a user and which user to delete, we'll call this variable from here. So const user. So let's say our user a while ago. So this is demo-user. Okay. Now, like we do in our search command a while ago, so we need to emphasize the same operation as what we did. So we need to put that in here. Let's say, put a $sign and the user. Of course, we need to replace this code here. This one. Okay. So now what it's going to do is it will assign a particular request for this variable user here. So next is, since we call a delete request, so once succeed, we'll notify in our logs or the console log that deletion is successfully deleted user, delete the username user. Okay, now let's try if this works. So from here we need to clear this one. Okay. So again, we need to call this using node delete dash user. Good. So just to make sure, we need to go to the Openfire server and see if that works. We click from here. Yes. So right now, our demo-user has successfully deleted in here. Now, what we need to do is, since we already performed our deleted username, next is we need to modify a certain user. Now, for our demo, okay, so let's check here which is available. Now, let's say this one. So we'll be using user2 username. So we're going to update some information from here. So let's say we're going to change the name. So this time we're going to create another file, which is update user.js. Okay, so now what we need to do is just copy from here. Let's see. Okay, come here. So I'm going to copy this from our create user file. Paste it here. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to take two information, which is first is the username, and the second one is the what variables that or which fields from Openfire that we need to update. So from this section here, There's a specific parameters for that. So first, we need to indicate first the user. Okay. So from here, we need to create a variables name user. So for our example, we'll be updating user2. So I'm going to put it from here. User2. Then we need to call that user in our params. This will be placing here. So what it does is it will call the parameters from our user variables. So next, since our target is to change the name, so we need to call that field. So let's say I am now a new user. Okay, sounds pretty good. So next one is we can also modify the email information. So let's say for this example, let's say user2 gmail.com. Let's check first just to make sure that there are no other information. Okay, so here we emphasize this is new user. So we need to change that. Okay. Now the next one is this is a property reference to accept the changes from Openfire. So this is from the document, so we need to copy that properties. Call this one. Okay, and the properties are key, column, and this is the key name. The next one is the value. It is value. Okay. Now these variables here, okay. So now we already completed our parameters properties. So we will assign these params to call in this section here. Okay. Now, since this is an update request, instead of post from here, we're going to change this as to put request. Okay, just to make sure we need to check everything. Okay, this authorization is still here, content. Now in here, in our message logs or in the console, so we need to change this. So we need to say successfully update user. Okay. So around we need to check. So from the top, we create a variables to assign here to call from here. Okay. These parameters we assign this as parameter to assign here in this section to perform the put, and this is the URL. So next is, of course, we update our user here. I mean our logs information. So we better we need to call these variables here to assign in the console. Let's say successfully update username, this one here. Okay, so what it does is once it is success, the assigned name here will be displayed here. Okay, so now let's try. Let's clear from here. So again, we need to call the node update dash user undefined. So okay, so this time we have an error, so we need to check first why we have an error. Okay. Oh yes. So I mean we need to emphasize, of course, the which users. So a while ago I create a variable here to call that user, but this is only assigned in the parameter. But also it is also required in the URL. So we need to call this user as well. Same on how we do with delete. You need to call the same way as how it does. So again, so we need to emphasize the user here. We type in the $, bracket. Okay, so since this is only a text string here, we need to replace this one here so that it will become a dynamic display. Okay, that's it. So final check. Okay, so I think everything is okay now. So again, we need to call the update user. So let's hit enter. Good. Now this time we successfully update our username user2 with this new information. So let's go there in our Openfire and see if the changes was made. So this is the user that we use. So we need to refresh. Okay, good. So that's it. So right now we succeed on how to modify our REST API using Node to change the properties of our user here. Okay, so for this demo, maybe you can use this source code to create a admin account on your own. There's a lot of stuff here that you can see or modify. So since this is a chat server, there's still a lot of properties here that you can explore. Now for this information, you can go to this REST API documents. This is under ignite.org, which is where our Openfire is came from. So these are the list of Openfire that we performed a while ago. So anything from here, you can explore more. So use these documents at your own risk. So also, I'm going to put this source code in my GitHub account. You can get the sample code on the description below. So again, so hope you enjoyed this video and hopefully you can use this code. So if you like this video, just hit the thumbs up and share. That's it, guys. That's it, guys. So thank you and hope you see you guys on the next video. Cheers.